Welcome everyone. My name is Jane Zhang. We're going to get started. Our webinar for today is called Technology Planning for Nonprofits. This is brought to you by TechSoup Canada. I just kind of want to see how many of you actually have heard of TechSoup Canada or have ordered from TechSoup Canada's product donation program before. So right now I'm going to run a short poll so you can either say yes or no, and we're going to get started in 1 second. Great. Thanks to everybody that is responding to the poll. I see a lot of you have heard of us and have ordered from our donations program. That's wonderful. I'm just going to close this right now and continue on. Oops. Sorry about that. Okay, so just a reminder that this is a listen-only webinar, which means you can hear me, but I can't actually hear you. So if you have a question, there is a questions area on the right hand of your screen, so you can just type your question there and I'll do my best to answer it. I would say, though, during the webinar, if you want to try and leave the questions you may have near the end, I can try and answer everybody's question at the Q&A at the end. Also, too, the presentation slides for today will be available on SlideShare as well as on our website. We have put together a set of tools for you to download on our website as well, and that should be available shortly after this webinar. If you can't hear me very well, I also recommend for you to turn up your volume either on your PC or on your headset. And for the best webinar experience, you might want to close your other applications. Just a quick bit about TechSoup Canada. We are a nonprofit that helps nonprofits in Canada to use technology to achieve their full potential. And we realize that this is usually caused by several barriers to technology. One, people may not have the tools for access, so we do have our donations program. And secondly, there is the knowledge piece of not really knowing what tools are out there, what the trends are in technology. So we try to put out monthly learning articles on our Learning Center on the website, and of course training events such as this one, the webinar, as well as our Toronto Net Tuesdays. In the future, we do hope to try and get more talent available to the sector through offering of matching of volunteer program. So our donation program currently, we are working with about 25 donor partners, Microsoft, Adobe, and Symantec, to name a few. And for a little bit of background, we are a collaborative effort by TechSoup Global in the U.S., the Center for Social Innovation in Toronto, Information Technology Association of Canada, and it was made available through funding through the Ontario Trillium Foundation. So, what does technology mean to your organization? If I were to ask that question to you live, and you can respond, a lot of you probably say, well, we have our website, we use that to provide information about our organization. We may also use it to interact with our community. Some of you probably have a newsletter as well to keep your members engaged on the latest news and events happening within your organization. And of course, we all use email to communicate either internally or externally. And let's not forget about the phone systems, either the phones in your office or more and more people are moving towards using smartphones and mobile phones. And of course, CRMs or contact relationship management systems to help organizations track donors and volunteers. So really, technology is quite essential to the organization. But what role does technology do? I would argue that by using technology as a tool properly, it will allow you to share your stories of what you do as a organization with your community. So for example, by using YouTube videos or online photo sharing applications like Flickr, you can share information and stories about your mission and what's important to you as an organization to the world. Essentially, your stories are what defines you as an organization, and it sets you apart from others doing similar things in the sector. Stories also help to build relationships with your community, and with the right set of tools, you can foster those relationships. Speaking of relationships, conversations are a huge part of building great relationships with your community. Right now, conversations are probably happening out there about your organization, and I would encourage you to be part of it. So by being the right, we call it the listening organization. So using right set of listening tools, you can find out what people are saying about you. For example, what are they saying on Twitter about you or on Facebook? What are they commenting about you in their blogs? This way you can learn about others' perception of who you are as an organization and their perception of how you're doing. Your stories and your conversations can also lead to new ideas as well and innovative ways of doing your work. They can also inspire people to take action to make a difference. So instead of just you running a campaign and trying to have impact on your community, your stories, your way of using technology can encourage the public and community to do that with you. Of course, it can also encourage collaboration, sharing of knowledge and best practices with groups of people that may not normally come together. So if you think about what we do offline in face-to-face interaction, usually it's limited to geographical area. By using technology in the proper way, it allows you to break down those boundaries and allow people to be able to share knowledge across geographical, generational, and social economic boundaries. And through sharing, collaboration, we can also build healthier communities. This means having stronger communities means it would empower us to do more for our communities and in our communities. We can use crowdsourcing tools to generate awareness and have greater impact. That's all great. I'm sure some of you are sitting there going, yeah, I know what the potentials are, but we have limited resources. We have limited time. We have limited capacity. If I'm so busy already, you can't be telling me that I need to think about technology planning or I need to go on Twitter. That's just not possible. Well, that's what this webinar is for, and that's why we're here. So first of all, I want to say that we will be posting a lot of the resources from this webinar on our website, and we will be posting some toolkits for you to download information that is going to be covered in more detail than what we could cover in the webinar. So first thing, before you even start planning for technology, I would recommend conducting a technology assessment to see what the current state of technology in your organization is like. Are your software and hardware current? Do you have a secure backup for your organization's files if your computer is stolen or if it crashes? Do you have access to information, the access information for your website, for your mail server, etc.? Are you storing them in a safe place? Or is everything dependent on a part-time IT person that comes in once a month? Do you know what programs that your staff is currently using within the organization? By having this inventory, it will give you some insight into what needs to be done in the short term. And so planning also means using technology more effectively. That effective use of technology means that it actually disappears into the background, like all of the other tools infrastructure that we currently use to support our mission. It really shouldn't be something extra that you're taking on that your staff feels it's something else that is now going to take up their time. So good planning and good decision making is based on the same principles that you normally would when you're planning for your program development or running a campaign. And in this case, it's really knowing what your mission is and how do you actually translate that into actionable items. How do you prioritize what's important? And of course, don't be afraid about technology. Be in the driver's seat. Ultimately, you're the one that knows how to use technology to drive your mission. By giving up control of the planning of technology to a tech person, you may actually lose what's important here, which is the support of your mission. Now, when setting goals, it's important to look at all the different aspects of the organization from both a strategic as well as a programmatic perspective. I would also say too, the different functional areas of your organization should support your organizational goals. For example, what are you currently using? What is your current communication strategy? What plan do you have for communications? How are you doing marketing for your organization? What are you using to manage all of the knowledge that you generate as an organization? What about HR? And of course, a lot of us are always worried about fundraising. What are you doing in those areas? Technology here, and you'll notice I don't actually have it in this diagram, is because technology exists to support all of these areas, and it's not a separate area in its own. An easier way to think about it is how do you actually take what you have from your strategic plan or take what you have from your organization goals. These are the mission goals that you know very well already from a day-to-day basis. And then how do you actually translate that into a technology-related goal? So here's an example. If you want to improve your services to clients by making it easier for staff from all program areas to work together, here you may want to think about updating your database system so that the staff can access the information easily from all program areas. And this is a piece that you don't necessarily have to do on your own. I usually recommend mapping out everything on the left-hand side first, and then what you can do is sit down with someone who's more tech-savvy or your tech expert in the organization. They can recommend tools and how to translate the organization goals to your technology goals. And of course, the most important, I would say, is the conversation piece. This is where you want to talk to your staff on all levels, because if you don't talk to the staff and see what they're doing, how they're currently using the tools, and just go ahead and implement a technology solution, you will find out that it might not work because you do not have the buy-in from your organization. So this is where being a good listening nonprofit will come in handy. It will help you to gain a better understanding of how staff within your organization are collaborating, but also how they're collaborating with people outside of your organization as well. We encourage that you sit down and have an internal discussion with your staff and get their opinion on technology, get their buy-in, ask them what they think the role of technology will be for the organization. What would be some of their areas of interest as well? Are some of your staff more savvy than others? What's your attitude like? Could some of them become champions for your organization? For example, you may have a staff member that might be interested in blogging or doing social media. This is a way of integrating your staff's interest into what tools they use and use that to help to increase the capacity of your organization. Of course, not all staff are going to be tech savvy, so here it's important to understand that not everyone is going to embrace technology. I would ask them why. Find out the reasons why they're resistant to change, and look at if this is less of a technology issue and more of a process issue. And could things be done to help them in the short term that would make their life easier? Okay, so chances are if you have that conversation with your staff, you're going to generate a lot of information, a lot of opinions, a lot of ideas. Preventing information overload, you will want to try and map out clear processes and streamline how information is categorized within your organization. How are people doing things, and how is knowledge being distributed? This will help you to think things through and think about what's important and how can you improve what you currently have based on process alone. So never mind the technology piece. We have a saying that if it's a broken process, it's going to be broken technology, because technology at the end of the day is not a solution. It's only a tool, and it can only be used in a certain way. So think about if you can tweak your existing process and look at what opportunities you may have here for automating certain things. For example, if you're trying to set up your meeting schedule and what you're doing is using email, and you may have to send around 6 or 8 or 10 emails just to know when is the best time to meet. This is an opportunity to kind of automate that and see what meeting schedule tools you can have. Or sharing of files. I'm guilty of this, certainly, within my organization here at TechSoup Canada, of emailing giant PowerPoint presentations to my staff for review. So how do you share files in a way that's not going to overwhelm their inbox? How do you make it easy for them to be able to tweak your presentation or a document that you're working on in real time, as opposed to waiting for me to finish doing something and then emailing it to them and wait for them to have time to do the edits? And how do we all contribute to update the website instead of having it being one person's job? Is there a way of mapping out the process so different people can update different sections of the website, making your site a lot more dynamic, and as well you're not overwhelming your communications or your webmaster person? And of course, I do realize this is probably cut off at the bottom there a little bit. Once you have done your inventory of your technology assets and you had your conversation with your staff and you've sat down and mapped out some of your process, you might want to take this opportunity and kind of pull everything together and then look at, and we can be honest about it, and look at what your strengths are and what your challenges are. So what are you good at? What you're doing really, really well? And where are the areas for improvement? So for example, if you already have a server for file sharing within your organization, that means infrastructure-wise that could be a strength. However, you may be running, all of your staff may have computers that are really old and really slow, and it takes a lot of time for them to just boot it up in the morning, never mind trying to open up Firefox or Internet Explorer. So that would be an area for improvement. Now, we encourage you to do this for not just the IT aspect of it, but looking at what skill sets your staff may have within your organization. This will help you to identify training needs as well. And also, too, when you're making decisions on new technology projects, it will allow you to determine what might be a better tool than another one based on ease of use. Also, of course, the attitude of your staff towards technology, as well as what resources available to you. Now, if you identify the gaps, now you've got maybe 4 or 5 or 6 potential projects. You probably want to start a social media campaign. You want Facebook. You want a new website. You probably want to be able to update all of the computers, upgrade all of the software. How do you determine which one should be done first? This is what I call it a easy way of prioritizing. So I basically look at impact versus cost, right? So, and then what I do is put different projects that you may potentially want to do for your organization, and based on cost and impact, you can map it out here. Obviously, you want the highest impact projects that is the lowest cost. So for something like Twitter that may generate high impact within your community, but it's free to sign up, might be a good project for your organization. Whereas something that's very costly and may only benefit a few people might not be something that you want to tackle right away. And some other things to think about is training, data migration, and all of these new infrastructures that you may need to put in, market research that you may have to do on donors. You'll need to integrate all of this into the cost factor as well. And of course, be smart. How do you automate tasks that are certainly that are currently repetitious or mundane? I tend to say it's not about working harder, it's about working smarter. And I do this at home. I actually generate what I call a force field graph. So on the left hand side of a piece of paper, I will list all the tasks that I personally don't like doing at work. And then on the right hand side, I list tasks that I enjoy. And then my goal is, how do I, whenever I'm thinking about a technology tool to use, how do I move towards the right? So what are some of the things that I can automate? So if I'm copy and pasting something from one document to another all the time, is there a way of automatically collecting that information so I don't have to? If I'm counting tickets after a show just to see how many people came to one of our events, maybe that is something that we could automate. So these are ways that you could help you think through the process of prioritizing as well. Now, if you prioritize, you have some projects. What's next? I would say make an action plan. Action plans doesn't have to be very involved. It doesn't have to be very detailed. But it's a really good way to allow people to take the lead on different aspects of a project. It also allows you to track the progress and have an overview of who's doing what within your organization. This will also help you to map out your budget for technology planning. A lot of you may be approaching your fiscal year end at the end of March and are thinking about your budget for the coming year. So this is a good opportunity to think about what are the projects that you are going to be working on, who's going to be responsible for it, what is the cost for implementation of those projects, but it also too, what is the cost of your staff time. And costing it out, integrating it into a technology budget, and putting that as part of your organization planning budget for the next year is going to be helpful. I listed here a few examples. With any technology, you're going to have ongoing infrastructure support, as well as training for your staff and maintenance. So for a website, it's not really just how much it would cost to host your website. There's a real cost to implementing it, and another for training your staff so they're familiar with it, but as well, you'll probably need to upgrade it every couple of years. So making a list of all of the things that you may need will allow you to see what the total cost for technology would be for your organization. You can then integrate this into your proposals for your funders as well. Okay, so you have some ideas on what projects you want to do and who's going to do what's next. I would say this is an opportunity to piece things together. You can get informed by going to different areas. You can get informed by coming to our website and going to the Learning Center and look at what resources are available for you, what tools might be good for you to use. And I would say don't be afraid to experiment. Test out the tools. See what's worked for your organization and what is not. Something that may work for one organization might not work for the other based on different processes and the people that are using it. This is also a good opportunity to find expertise as well. You may be able to get a tech volunteer that could be very knowledgeable in certain areas to help you out. But also think about how do you transfer that knowledge back to your organization. I always say it's a good idea to be able to guide the technology expert vendor person to kind of help you achieve your mission, but at the end of the day, it is the staff, it is your communities, it is in the organization that has to achieve the mission. So it's important to make sure whatever it is that you do, you try to transfer that knowledge internally. So of course, setting goals reloaded. Once you have done some of these planning and have executed it, I would say this is an ongoing process. You need to go back and look at how did that work for us? The new tool that we are using for technology, the plan that we had this year, is it working in the different areas? Has it helped me with marketing? Has it helped me with communications? Has it really improved our fundraising campaigns? Are we collaborating better on our knowledge sharing? Are our board members cooperating better? Are we working more efficiently? Have we increased the organizational efficiency for our organization? So what I'm going to do right now is actually open up 2 questions for the audience. So if you have questions, there is a question bar on your right-hand side of your screen. Feel free to type them in, and I will try to answer them the best of my ability. Okay, so the resources for this webinar are located on our website at techsoupcanada.ca/learning_center/webinars. I'm not seeing any questions from the audience at the moment. Is there a particular area that one of you would like me to cover? Someone asked me what a CRM is. CRM is essentially a contact relationship management system, and they come in different forms. Some of you may have heard of Salesforce or Sugar CRM or CV CRM. They allow you to track your relationships within your communities. So, for example, you may want to know if Jane has donated to me. I may know that she's a donor in my spreadsheet of donors. But how do I know if she's also a volunteer? If I had an event last week for my conference, how would I know if she's also an attendee? Implementing a CRM within your organization will allow you to find out who these people are that might be participating in multiple ways within your organization. It also will allow you to, say, track who may be a repeat donor for your organization or who is a long-term volunteer. In addition, it allows you to map out who are the people that are most passionate about what you do as an organization. And this will help you with building a community champion for you that may be able to advocate on your behalf what you're currently doing. Are there funders who may pay for nonprofits to improve their technology? Absolutely. I think it really, when you're thinking about technology, it really depends on how you talk to the funder about it. A lot of the time, it isn't about improving the technology, but improving your communications, improving your marketing, improving your community engagement. So technology in this case, it becomes a tool that you're using. And I would say when you're talking to funders, you want to convince the funders that this isn't a crucial tool that you will need to be able to do that. So instead of writing a technology funding proposal, I would look at writing a proposal on how do you engage volunteers within your community and having that volunteer engagement tracking tool embedded within your funding proposal to help you. And this way, the funders will have a better understanding of what the technology is actually doing as opposed to just giving you the funding for the technology itself. There's a technology assessment template available. I didn't want to go over it in detail in the webinar itself, but you can download it from the URL that I have shown here. It's actually quite detailed. It will help you list through, does everybody have Windows 7 on a computer? What kind of computer do they have? Is everyone on desktops, laptops? How many smartphones do we have within an organization? Do we have high-speed internet access? Do we have a CRM? Or how many people are using Office? What version of Office are they using? Are they using Mac or PC? Because this is important as you're making decisions going forward. You probably want to be able to implement a tool that is compatible to everybody's machine, that will run on all the laptops. You may also want to think about how you can use certain technologies that are hosted in the cloud. I find a lot of the hosted applications require less from the computer themselves, and really all you need is internet access and a computer that's not too old. Now, in terms of what CRM software is available through TechSoup, I will admit that we do have Microsoft Dynamics CRM through TechSoup. If you are already running a Microsoft-based server, it is a good tool to implement. And if you are standardized on Microsoft applications within your organization, there are lots of free open source CRMs out there. CV CRM, that's CIV CRM, is a really good one. We are currently using that for the back end of our website. Sugar CRM is another open source application. If you are a nonprofit organization, chances are you can get the Salesforce version, the nonprofit version of the CRM as well. There are other kind of specific CRMs out there that you could use if you are interested in using it to track donors. There is Sumac. There is also Wild Apricot is another good one that's very popular. We don't have a lot of these in our donations program because, as I said, a lot of them are already low cost or free. So we try to concentrate on some of the higher cost applications. Now, who should take charge of mapping out the technology planning? That's a really, really good question. I would say everyone. Now, you do need somebody who is a lead, usually an executive or someone in management that has a really good understanding of the organization mission. So they have a good vision of where the organization is going, should definitely participate. But I would say encourage your staff to be a part of it as well, because the staff are the ones that are going to be using the technology. So if you only have top-level people in an organization mapping out the technology planning or needs, chances are you run the risk of implementing something that is top-down and may actually be an extra burden for your frontline staff, and they may not want to use it and they will not adapt to it. So encouraging the people that are going to be using the tool, the people that are thinking about what they want the tool to accomplish ultimately for the organization, as well as the technology person. They have the expertise on what tool might be a good one to use, but they also need to know what the mission is for the organization and where people are at in terms of their skill levels. We have had situations in the past where you have an IT person who's very capable and very knowledgeable running a database for the organization and know that they need to upgrade the website, but they have no idea what is going to be the content of the website or who's going to be maintaining it. That's very dangerous because they may choose a tool that will not be easy to use, and they may also choose tools that may not be compatible or may not work well with your existing process. So it's worth the time to sit everybody down in a meeting. It takes a few hours and basically ask everybody what their opinions are. And I can go back to the slide that I had before of looking at what your strengths and weaknesses are and really truly map out the skill levels and attitude and resources available to you. This will give you a bigger, a more whole picture of where you're at as an organization. Someone also asked, they're looking for resources on how to structure their folders and files on the server in incorporating permissions. Yes. So obviously, there are quite a few ways you can share files. If you have an existing server already, to me, this is two things. It's having the technology available. It's also having process. We actually just went through this internally at TechSoup, where we came up with category names, and we made sure those category names or file names or folder names, whatever you want to call them, is shared throughout the organization. So we are clear on where things are going to be stored. How I think about collaboration, how I think about an event and, a workshop presentation for an event, and how I'm going to organize that is going to be very different than someone else. So having certain structure put in place where everybody is aware will help you streamline your current processes. But also you do want to give people some freedom and the ability of categorizing their own information as well. Microsoft SharePoint is a really good application to have within an organization. Again, this is if you already have a server. It does allow you to share files very easily, and it also allows you to be able to create your personal workspace for, say, for a particular department. So you can have marketing people have their own area, and or HR have their own area. Someone asked me if technology planning should be incorporated into a larger strategic plan. Absolutely. I would say that you probably want to start with an organization strategic plan first, because it is give you the highest level overview of what you are trying to do as an organization. And then what you want to do is break that down into what does this mean for the technology piece. And again, it's important to kind of go back and say, okay, technology isn't just about, it shouldn't be by itself separately. So how do you integrate your technology plan so that it supports the different functional areas for your organization is very important here. I would say, though, it might be helpful to, after you've done a organization strategic plan, to have a section on technology. That way you can use it separately if you want to for implementation purposes. Now, if you're trying to think about, and this is the talent piece when it comes to thinking about technology, someone asked me what criteria they should use to evaluate which company to work with when they're trying to come up with a new website. I would say there's two pieces here. There's the talent piece, but there's also what information you want to put on your website. That you can do internally. And I would say this is where you want to look at what it is that you're trying to do with your website. Ultimately, what do you want to achieve for the website? And that will help you with what kind of content do you want to put on there. And also are you trying to use the site to engage your communities? What are some of the functionalities you may want to add to the site? But also, what the skill level of the people within your organization that are going to be updating the site going to be like. Obviously, you may want to consider having volunteers to help you update the site. But I would always say that when it comes to your website, because it is your online presence, it is who you are online, the planning of the website, the strategic direction of the site, the content of the site, those decisions should be made within the organization. If you have the budget to do so, you want the company to come in and help you build the site and maintain it, and you could have a volunteer to help you update the actual content of the site. In the toolkit that we have for you to download, at the end of it, we do have a piece on how you can engage different people, whether it be vendors or board members or volunteers on different aspects of your technology planning. Or if we don't have it, we'll make sure we have it for you. Now, the Budgeting for an organization for technology when it comes to upgrades and maintenance, this is going to vary based on if you're a small organization or if you're a large organization, and also too on the actual tools that you're using. I would say if you have a website that is hosted, you probably want to budget about 2 hours of someone's time just for basic maintenance of the security of the website, making sure that everything is still running okay, and if there are patches that need to be put on for the server or for your website content management system, that's a good idea. So whatever the going rate, it could be anywhere between $60 to $100 an hour. So that's the very minimum. You want to budget 2 hours time for maintenance of a website. But it's not just your website that need maintenance, right? You will probably need to look at how do you keep your computers current? Do you have the latest antivirus software? Do you have the latest Office product? Definitely, I would encourage you to utilize our donations program to upgrade your software, but you still need to have someone to come in and make sure that everything is okay, that you haven't downloaded a virus or a spyware onto your computer. Again, a few hours a month is the bare minimum, and this is something that I would almost say you want to pay for. That way you know that Joe is going to be here on Thursdays from 4 to 6 o'clock, and it's not your friend who may or may not have time. Because technology is core to what you do, I think if your computer or your system is down for a day, that is going to hugely impact your productivity. Are there any other questions that I haven't answered? Okay. So I do apologize ahead of time if there are questions that I have skipped. You can always reach me via email. My email address is jing@techsoupcanada.ca. I do want to thank all of you that have participated in the webinar today. We are recording this, so hopefully we'll have this online for you very soon, and you may have additional questions once you go through your technology assessment, and I do encourage you to do that and contact us if you need any more help. Thank you very much. I appreciate your attendance today.